Thank you, Baleen. Late last week, just before the ceasefire announcement between Israel and Hamas, I had the privilege to sit down in conversation with two leaders on Capitol Hill, Congresswoman Kay Granger and Senator Jackie Rosen. Let's begin with my conversation with Congresswoman Granger. It is my privilege to introduce to you Congresswoman Kay Granger of Texas. Congresswoman Granger has been a leader of the pro-Israel movement throughout her time in the House of Representatives, especially in her current position as the ranking member of the House Appropriations Committee. Congresswoman, thank you for taking the time to be with us today and for your resolute support for Israel, always, but especially during this difficult time.
Thank you very much. I appreciate that. It is a very difficult time for Israel, and it's difficult to be outside and watching what's happening. That is so tragic, I think, really, because the relationship of Israel and the United States is such a special one. I would, in fact, consider it one of the most important relationships we have with the United States and Israel.
Well, as Hamas began its rocket attacks on Israeli cities, you were very quick to issue a statement in support of Israel's self-defense and condemning Hamas and the terror groups there for targeting Israeli civilians. What are your thoughts on the situation right now, and how can America support Israel during this moment?
First of all, how we can support Israel is to try to help Israel in bringing a peaceful solution in this situation. And I know the president has talked to the people in Israel, but I think we have to step it up. And I just signed a letter in that support that many of the members of Congress signed to say, we're with you, Israel, and how can we help? I've always said that the relationship with Israel and the United States is really a very different. There's a richness there, and the best way that I could explain it is it's such a special relationship and goes back in so many different ways. Several years ago, Eric Cantor and I, when he was still in the Congress, were concerned with some of the we had a lot of new people coming into the Congress, and many of them had run for Congress saying we shouldn't be giving other nations money or make special situations for them. And he and I were both very concerned about that. And said, what can we do? And we decided the best way to talk about that, to do something about it, is to have those new members go to Israel. And we took 30 members of Congress, broken up into two trips, to see Israel and understand this very small country that we are so close to, surrounded by much larger countries that say we want to blow you off the face of the earth. And so we did. We spent our time doing that, and every single one said at the end of that trip, we just didn't know what we saw before, and we'll always be there for Israel. And I think that those of us, particularly in the Congress, have a responsibility to explain that relationship and make sure it continues. Right now, one of the arguments is about whether Israel should be able to defend itself. I said to a large group yesterday, I said, what do you think they're supposed to do? Just sit there and have them being attacked? Of course they should be allowed to defend themselves. And that's what they're doing right now. And I'm proud that the Congress has had that position for such a long time. And for instance, one of the ways that they're dealing with it now is the Iron Dome. And I remember helping get that done. And it's doing exactly what we wanted it to do. So I think that's what the important thing we do. This is tragic, what's happening in Israel right now. My heart goes out to the Israelis that are killed or forced to hide the shelter, and also the Palestinians who are endangered by Hamas. And it is a terrorist organization. I don't think peace will come until that terror is defeated. And I take that very seriously.
Absolutely. I couldn't agree more. And seeing Israel firsthand is obviously so impressive and so important. as ranking member of the House Appropriations Committee, you have long been an unwavering advocate of security assistance to Israel without political conditions, including the missile defense funding and the Iron Dome funding. Do you see this year in particular a challenge to that aid? And what should we be doing? What can Congress do to ensure that Israel has the material support she needs to defend herself?
There will be, I think, an attempt to change that, but there is support on both sides of the aisle for Israel, and there's an understanding of our support to Israel, and so I don't think I'm not never going to take anything for granted when you're talking about something like that. I think we'll have to really work and explain what's happening, but I feel sure they will have the majority to continue that financial support and also look at some other support that's needed because of what's happening right now.
Yeah, we're ready to engage in that fight. As you know, this year there's a record number of women serving in the Congress. And as the former chair of the Defense Appropriations Subcommittee, you know better than anyone what it's like to be a woman in the defense and foreign policy decision-making world. Given your experience, do you think it's important for women to have a seat at the table when it comes to foreign policy, national security issues?
Absolutely, absolutely. And I don't think there should be any change from that. There are more women in the Congress now. It's wonderful. I don't know, for 23 years, I was the only Republican woman to ever serve from Texas in the Congress. When I came in, I said, surely that's not true. I said, no, it is true. And I said, that's amazing. And so that was 23 years ago. And only this year did we get the second Republican woman. But let me tell you about how important women are. When I was named to State Foreign Operations, Nita Lowey, she and I were at the same level, and when we came up to one was of the entire Committee of Appropriations, she was chair and I was ranking member. I was chair and she was ranking member. We had never worked together, and when we were named, there's a vote, and they said Kay Granger will be Anita Lowey, and she called me immediately, and we had never worked together. We just weren't on the same, doing the same things. And she brought me to her office and she said, Kay, I don't think there's ever been two women that have led a committee in the Congress. I said, oh, surely not. It was true. And so she said, and we agreed that we were going to work together, be friends, be able to disagree without being disagreeable, and we would be on budget and on time. And we did all of that. So she was wonderful, wonderful to work with. And she's Jewish, Democrat from New York. I'm a Republican, Texas, Methodist, and we got along famously. It was, yeah.
May the legacy of your work and your bipartisan friendship together last and impact, I hope, this Congress and future generations. Congresswoman, thank you again for taking the time to speak with us. In all the big and little ways that you're involved, know that we appreciate everything that you do for the U.S. Israel relationship. Thank you.
Thank you so much.
Our work with Congress is vital to ensuring Israel's security, and it depends on each and every one of you. So before I introduce our final speaker, Senator Jackie Rosen, I want to pause and share a story about one AIPAC family who are making an impact across multiple generations.